Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I've got my green apron on, so you know what that means? It's time for some Xt250 maintenance. So my bike just ticked over to 13,000 miles. So I think it's time for an oil and oil filter change. So I'm going to be honest, I don't typically stick to a preventative maintenance, kind of just general maintenance plan. I know some people say that you should really be on top of it when it comes to maintenance, and I sort of agree, but sometimes time just kind of slips by. But let's see what I'm missing out on. Where's that at? Preventative maintenance. There you go. Periodic maintenance. I'm at 13,500 or 13,050 miles or something like that, and our factory service manual here says, yep. We should have been doing our engine oil at 600 miles, 4,000 miles, 7,000 miles, 10,000 miles, and 13,000 miles. So yeah, I've missed a handful of them. And it says we should have replaced our oil filter at 600 miles, 7,000 miles, and 13,000 miles. So every 6,000 miles. I guess I should really hop onto that one. But here we go. I'm not going to lie to you. I'll show you guys the evidence. 4,000... 7,000, 10,000, 13, we're right there. We'll go ahead and drop down to what we should do. That's a lot of check boxes, but we're going to focus on the engine oil aspect and the engine oil filter element aspect today. But I guess there's nothing to it but to do it. If you've never changed your oil on your Xt250, you're going to need a couple of tools. So, you're going to need a 12 and a 14 wrench, and if you have a skid plate like I do, you'll need a 12mm socket, you'll need an oil filter, and you'll need a couple quarts of oil, along with a funnel and a drain pan. Our factory service manual actually recommends that we start our engine and let it warm prior to changing our oil. Now that the machine's warmed up, we're going to start by removing our oil filler bolt, which is right here, using the 14mm wrench. It's a 14mm. It does have an O-ring on there. Our factory manual doesn't say we have to replace it after we break that cap off, so we should be fine. There you go. There's an O-ring on there and 14mm. We'll just go ahead and put that aside. If you have a skid plate, you might need to use a 12mm socket for this part, but if you don't have a skid plate, you can just use a 12mm wrench. And since our bike is still hot, we gotta be careful on this part because we can really burn ourselves. You want to make sure that the drain pan is ready, so that way if you do drop the bolt, it'll just fall into the drain pan. But I managed to catch it and get my hands all dirty and get the wrench dirty. But now we just kind of let our oil drain out and make sure we don't see any shavings or anything like that. I wish I had somebody to grab me some paper towels. It might take a while for that oil to drain out, so we're going to get started on our oil filter. Removing the oil filter cover is easy. You just have to use the Allen keys that Yamaha provides for you, or make sure you buy some Allen keys that are the right size. A smart thing to do right now is to actually cover up your oil fill plug, just in case we drop one of those oil filter cover screws. Our factory service manual says there should be 3 O-rings in here that should be replaced after each use. Dropping a little bit of oil, so we'll toss a rag down there. So we're losing a little bit of oil there. And on the inside we should have our oil filter. It should just pop right out. There we go, and our oil filter should just pop right out. We want to make sure that we don't see any metal shavings or anything too bad in here, along with inside of our oil. Now that we have that filter removed, we're going to inspect for any damage or any debris that's inside of there. What we can do is we can also clean it out, just to make sure that everything is ready to accept our new oil filter. Now that we have everything off and clean, it's a good time to check our mating surfaces and our O-rings. It looks like this O-ring is starting to have a little bit of extra play in it, so it might be smart to replace it. But since I don't have the right O-ring now, I'll have to replace it next time I do an oil change. With new filters, I like to make sure that the rubber gaskets on either side get a little bit of fresh oil on them before we install them. So what I do is I usually dip a finger into the oil just to get it moist, and then spread a little bit onto those contact surfaces. We want to make sure that this opening here faces outwards towards the outside of the bike, and the capped end actually goes towards the inside of the bike. Our factory service manual says each of these bolts should be torqued to 10 Newton meters. So if you have a torque wrench, it'll be smart to use it. So my torque wrench only goes to 9 Newton meters, but it'll be close enough. If you're anything like me, you've probably spilled oil all over the place at this point, so it's smart to have some towels that you're willing to throw away, some paper towels, and even some cat litter if you're working in your garage to soak up some of that extra oil stains. Now that all the oil's out of the bike, we can tighten our drain plug bolt to 20 Newton meters or 14 foot-pounds. And of course, if you guys don't have a torque wrench, just get it to tight enough. You don't want to over tighten these things. It's better to under tighten them than it is to over tighten them. Depending on your riding conditions, there is a spectrum of the oil weights that you should be using. Now we can add our oil to our bike. You want to make sure you use a funnel in this case, because if you don't, more oil will end up on the ground than you expect. And since we've replaced our oil filter, we should expect to throw in 1.37 quarts of oil. Our factory service manual, of course, recommends that we use only Yamalube brand oils. And of course, we don't want to use any oils that have any detergents, because our engine oil also lubricates our clutch. Now that we've put 1 quart of oil into the bike, it's very important that we watch how much of the second quart that we actually put into the bike. We don't want to have our bike overfilled, and we definitely don't want to have our bike underfilled. So that's why it's important that we watch what we're doing at this point. The Xt250 should be at as close to level as possible. The oil fill level on the 2015 Yamaha Xt250 was meant to be read when the bike is actually level. What I usually do is I usually prop up the bike using something underneath the kickstand to get the bike as level as possible, And if you don't have anything to use to prop the bike up, make sure you ask a buddy to help you, because it is kind of dangerous to keep your bike propped up on your own while trying to fill up the oil there. And if you do prop your bike up, make sure you're careful about it, because if your bike is level, it can tip onto the side that's not supported by the kickstand. And I'd say that's about good right there. So if you can see these two lines right here and here, that's your low level and that's your high level. It's sort of like the dipstick on a car, where you never want to go past this level, but you definitely don't want to go above this level. Now we can reinstall our oil fill cap. Well guys, I think that's going to pretty much round it out for this video. That's how I change the oil and oil filters on my bike. And if you guys have any questions about it, you guys should be consulting your factory service manual. And if you don't feel comfortable working on your bike for any reason, you should be sending it into the proper technician who can work on your bike and make sure it's taken care of properly. I hope you guys learned something from this, and make sure you use this only as entertainment value. If you want to use it as an instructional video, just know that I'm not liable for any damage that happens to your bike. If you're wrenching on your bike, you should know what you're getting into and what the dangers are of wrenching on your own bike. And speaking of wrenching on your own bike, if you don't have the right tools for the job, it is worth investing on it. It is worth investing into them, because the right tool for the job is the right tool for the job. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and until next time, peace out.